Well, joining us now is Mr. Franak Viačorka. He's advisor to Belarusian opposition leader Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya. Sir, a pleasure to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. All right, so it is like deja vu. Once again, migrants are being gathered at the Polish-Belarusian border, and not just, also Lithuania, Latvia. Now, if you could tell us, what is the purpose of all of this? What aim, if indeed the Belarusian government is involved, which it looks to be quite obvious, if they are involved, what aim are they trying to achieve here?
The aim is simple: to exert pressure on Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, European Union. It started in 2021 in the fall, when thousands of migrants started to be brought to Belarus from Middle East countries, from Lebanon, from Syria, from others. Then they were delivered by Lukashenko's secret services to the border, and they were shown where to go to European Union. So right now, when before it was like a provocation and response to democratic countries for supporting Belarusian democratic forces, right now this is the attempt to distract attention from Ukraine and to force Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, instead of supporting Ukraine, to focus on its own defense. Typical tactic of every dictator.
All right, and it looks like there might be some money making involved here as well. I was looking at the details here, and a lot of these migrants, it looks to me like they already have family in the European Union. So possibly they're being lured by promises that they'll get in to join their family members, and I assume for a fee.
Usually, every migrant who wants to get to the European Union, they are paying to Lukashenko's agencies, tourist agencies, from 5 to 15, sometimes 20,000 euros per person. And this is the price they pay for this illegal crossing. And Lukashenko's services and government make quite a lot of money on that. If we can estimate dozens of thousands, or perhaps even hundreds of thousands possible attempts, we can speak about dozens of millions of euros every month or year to Lukashenko's budget. Of course, it's not critical, but that's important revenue for secret services and Lukashenko himself.
All right, and now obviously we have spring. We finally have some good weather in this part of Europe. Do you think we can expect these sorts of attacks or this gathering of migrants to intensify over the summer?
It is not connected directly to the season because it's connected to Lukashenko's order and Putin's plan. If right now they are needed to have more pressure on the border, more attention on the border, to provoke, to escalate, they will send more migrants. Yes, in winter, of course, there are much more worse weather, more victims. It's not so plausible, and not many migrants want to be used and to be part of this scheme. But right now, we see that Lukashenko and Putin, they're escalating with nuclear weapons, they're escalating with migrants, they make very provocative statements against our neighbors, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and then the European Union as a whole. So this is the part of the general pattern of their behavior.
All right, and I think it's safe to assume that President Lukashenko is acting on behalf of Vladimir Putin in this case. Now, what other things is Belarus able to do for the Kremlin in terms of this hybrid warfare? And we see the use of migrants on the border, but what else are they capable of doing, do you think?
First of all, let me correct you, he's not the president, and neither Poland nor Washington nor European Union recognized him as president. So when you call him president, you make him a big favor, because this is something he wants to be. And actually, he lost his legitimacy both inside the country and outside the country. And thanks to Putin, he is trying to legitimate himself. So Putin and Lukashenko, now they have the symbiosis. Lukashenko receives recognition from Putin, support, financial, political, diplomatical. But for Putin, Lukashenko is badly needed to control Belarus. through Lukashenko, he can deploy nuclear weapons, use airspace to attack Ukraine, provoke the West through the border. I think right now they will be focusing mostly on this psychological operation, so-called PSYOPs or IPSO, against the Western countries through nuclear blackmail, through migrants, through statements, perhaps provocations on the border, like it was with the helicopters half a year ago. I don't think Putin and Lukashenko right now have enough power and forces and army to escalate and to attack the NATO countries. Putin is hardly stopping Ukrainians in Ukraine. But in the informational space, this is the space where the real battle is going on. Putin definitely has big advantage, and all this Russian media and Lukashenko's media are trying to discredit the West and to justify the war Putin started.
That's right. And you mentioned the media. How effective is Lukashenko in convincing the people of Belarus that this war that's happening in Ukraine is a just war? Do you have any idea of what the opinions are of the people in Belarus about this?
We have surveys. Of course, many people refuse to respond. It's online and phone surveys, and international organizations conduct them, Chatham House, and then the different institutes. So Lukashenko did not convince Belarusians to participate in the war. Only 4% support Belarus involvement in the war. Only 5% support the unification of Belarus and Russia. But many people, they don't know who is to blame for this war. And we see that in public opinion, many people think that it's the West guilty, that it's Ukraine guilty. Many people believe that everyone is guilty. So I think there is a big confusion, and we need more media, more unbiased information. Channels like tvpworld and like others, Belsat TV need to be more present in Belarus right now to explain what's really going on, because people inside the country, behind the Iron Curtain, they often don't understand.
That's right. But nevertheless, from what I see, he hasn't managed to capture the minds of the Belarusian people, at least and not in the military. I mean, if you look at his control of the military, sure, he has control of it. But when there was an attempt to send troops on behalf of Russia towards Ukraine, there was an absolute refusal, wasn't there?
Absolutely. Belarusian army didn't want to go to fight Ukraine. They made an internal survey within armed forces of Belarus, and majority said they don't want to fight Ukraine. And Lukashenko didn't manage to convince, and I don't believe Belarusian army will get involved, because usually army is very close to people in Belarus too. But when we speak about special forces, KGB, secret forces and secret departments connected to Lukashenko, they are very loyal to him. There are not many of them, from 5 to 15,000, who can obey the order, but they will not change the situation. Army, regular army, will not fight Ukraine.
It's wonderful news. All right, and now let's get back to this story that came out of Poland just recently. A Polish judge named Tomasz Schmidt suddenly appeared in Belarus claiming asylum. Now, what do you think? Do you have any theories about what this might entail, and what kind of information Tomasz Schmidt might have for the Belarusians, and I assume, therefore, also for the Russians?
I think it's up to Polish government and court to decide what is his guilt, what is his connection. There are several versions discussed in Belarusian expert community. First, a useful idiot, and propaganda will be just using him. Second, spying efforts, and this is up to Poland to find out how it really worked. Third, just running away from democracy to totalitarianism, but you should be stupid. In case of Belarus, Lukashenko is using him actively for propaganda purposes, to discredit Poland, to show that Polish system is unjust, that you see even judges are running away from Poland. It's a big present for Lukashenko. But we remember how such regimes behave with defectors like Schmidt. Emil Chechko, another Pole citizen, like a year or more ago, he came to Belarus, and after 3 months of being in propaganda news, he was found dead after committing suicide. So Lukashenko can use him, but after Schmidt will not be useful anymore, he can be just dropped away.
Another death by suicide, yeah? We know this
No
happens a lot
speculation.
in totalitarian regimes, doesn't it?
Exactly. No speculations, but remember Soviet times, Stalin times. History repeats itself, and dictatorships, they don't care about people's lives.
All right, and so just a final question: how organized and how capable is the Belarusian opposition right now in being able to communicate with the rest of the Belarusian people who are stuck there with Mr. Lukashenko?
So we have several underground groups, underground networks, mostly to deliver information to Belarusians inside the country, to help repressed, to help political prisoners, but also to document crimes of the regime. And we are in touch with people inside nomenclatura, inside the power vertical, to get information from there. There are alternative structures of power created by Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, elected president, the cabinet, the coordination council. Last week, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya had official meeting with the Secretary General of NATO and gave a speech to North Atlantic Council about the security situation in Belarus. Before we formalized the relationship with the European Parliament and the United States of America, basically like Poland during the Cold War time, during the Cold War time, exactly, had the government in exile, and before, like Baltic states, now Belarus has government in exile. Our country is under de facto occupation, but there are alternative structures representing Belarusian people, represented by Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya and other leaders of democratic forces.
All right, sir, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the time this morning to speak with us. That was Franak Viačorka. He's advisor to the official opposition leader, Belarusian opposition leader, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya.